Broiler business is a very lucrative business, which it is. Now, you have raised your broilers to 5, 6, 7, or 8 weeks with a very good weight. How much should you sell your broilers so that you can make a very good profit from your business? Without proper documentation or record of your production cost, you may not be able to tell if you will be making profit or not. In this video, I'll be giving you a detailed breakdown on how to calculate and know your cost of production, thereby knowing without stress how much to sell your birds with a very good profit. Welcome to Farmbiz with Markay. In this channel, we show you how to maximize profit in farming through creativity. You need to know your cost of production. It will be unwise to keep spending on feed, spending on medication, transportation, phone calls, etc. without taking note of them as it relates to your broiler farming. At the end, how will you know how much to sell your birds? This is very important. This is where your record keeping comes in handy. You need to record every expense, as this will help you to determine your cost of production. To determine your cost of production, you need to answer the following question to be able to have a good cost of production. In our case, let's assume we want to raise 100 birds to day 35, that is 5 weeks. How much are we buying day old chicks? Because the birds will not be given to you free. You need to know how much are you buying one day old chicks. Now, if we are buying 100, how much is it going to be? You need to provide answer for this. Now, as at the time of recording this video, a day old chicks is being sold at the rate of 650 naira. This means we will be spending 65,000 naira per 100 chicks that we want to raise. Now, the second question is this: how much are we using to transport them to our pickup station, the point where we'll be picking up the day old chicks in our state? But even if you are within the state where the hatchery is, how much are you going to spend to the hatchery to pick up the chicks and all of that? So you need to have a record of that. Now, as at the time of recording this video, it is 4,000 naira per carton to transport it from the state where the hatchery is to our pickup point. They charge 4,000 naira per carton, and each carton contains 51 day old chicks. So this means it will cost us 8,000 naira to transport our chicks to where we'll be picking it up in our state. So the third question is, how much are we going to spend in picking up those chicks from our pickup station to our farm? Let's assume 4,000 naira, depending on proximity to your farm, depending on how close that your pickup station is to your farm. Now, the next question is, how much are we spending on feed? This is very important because this takes up to 70-75% of your total production cost. Feed is very, very important. So, how much are we going to spend on feed to raise this 100 birds till day 35? Now, remember there was a number I gave, 3.5 kilogram of feed. This is what each bird is going to consume till that day 35. By that day 35, each bird is going to consume 3.5 kilogram of feed. Now, we need to multiply this 3.5 kilogram of feed by the number of birds we are raising. In this case, we are raising 100 birds. Now, when you buy your day old chicks, they always place extra chick inside one carton to make 51. So in this our case, we'll be having, assuming there is no mortality due to transportation and all of that, we'll be having 102 birds. Now, 102 multiplied by 3.5 kg that each chick is going to consume by day 35, we'll be having 357 kilogram of feed. We'll need to raise these birds till that day 35. Now, in our country today, the weight of one bag of feed is 25 kilogram. So when we divide this 357 kilogram of feed by 25 kg, what we'll have will be about 14.28 bags of feed. Now we approximate this to 15 bags of feed. By that day 35, we'll be needing 15 bags of feed to raise our birds till day 35. I don't know this calculation is clear, but it's just a little mathematics. Remember, we for one bird we'll be needing 3.5 kilogram to raise it to day 35. So for 100 bird or for 102 birds, we'll be multiplying that by 102 to give us 357 kilogram of feed. And 357 kilogram of feed, when we divide by 25, because a bag of feed is 25 kg in our country today, That will give us 14.28 bags, but we need to approximate this. Now, approximating this, we don't need to approximate it to 14. We always go a little higher. So that gives us 15 bags. Remember, we multiply by 102 because they will always add one extra chick per carton, making 51. So we need 15 bags to raise our birds till day 35, which is week 5. Now, if a bag of professional feed is being sold for 25,000, there are some that are being sold for maybe 26, as the case may be, some a little lower than this, but I just peg my price at 25,000 per bag. Now, we'll be needing 375,000 naira for feed alone. Okay. Now, the next question will be, how much are we spending on transporting the feed to our farm? Because when you buy, they won't transport it for you free. Or should you have your own car, definitely you buy some fuel to pick them up and then take to your farm. How much are we spending on transportation, on transporting the feed to our farm? Let's say let's assume 400 naira. This also depends on proximity to your farm as well. Let's say 400 naira per bag of feed. Now, depending on proximity to your farm, like I said, this amount to 6,000 naira for those 15 bags of feed that we'll be needing for our birds. Now, I always say, even if you are to use your own car to pick them up, you need to pay yourself. You need to add that amount here as part of your cost of production. Now, the next question will be, how much are we spending on medication and vaccine? How much are we spending on it? Now, to really get a good idea of how much to spend on medication and vaccination, we take 10% of our feed cost. 10% of our feed cost is going to give us how much we should spend on medication and vaccine. Now, 10% of our 375,000 naira, which is the amount we'll be spending on feed, that gives us 37,500, but we are approximate to 37,000 naira. Now, the next question is, are we paying someone to raise these birds for us? Now, even if your answer is no, you need to pay yourself, because this will be part of your cost of production. We assume that for those 5 weeks, we assume 30,000. This could be lesser, this could be higher, depending on your location. So, but in our case, we assume 30,000 that will be paying whoever will be taking care of the best for us. Now, even if we are taking care of it ourselves, we pay ourselves that 30,000 naira for these 5 weeks. Now, the next question to answer so that you have a proper cost of production is, how much are we spending to disinfect our pen before stocking? Because you don't just sweep there and then stock your day-old chicks. No. So there are some of my video in my channel to show you how to disinfect a brooder before stocking your day-old chicks. Because if you don't do that, you are planning to fail. So how much do you use to buy those disinfectants and all of that? Now, in our case, we assume a low-cost disinfectant like hypo, bleach, high concentration of hypo or bleach, as well as detergent, using it to wash the whole place before stocking our day-old chicks. Now, our assumption is 8,000 naira. Now, this could be a little higher, this could be lesser, depending on your location, like I said. Now, you could go for a higher quality disinfectant, but it will still give you a very good result. Now, the next question to answer so that you have a proper cost of production is, how much are we spending on heating? Because when those chicks, when they come, you don't just put them there, start feeding them and all of that and leave them, because otherwise they will die of cold. So you need to provide the heat for them to keep them warm. How much are you spending on that heating? Are you going to be making use of charcoal? Are you going to be making use of gas? Are you going to be making use of electricity? So you need to make provision for this. You need to account for this. Now, accounting for this, I assume I want to make use of gas brooder because that's what I use. For 12.5 kg cylinder, it's about 15,000 naira as at the time of recording this video in my location. So we assume 20,000 because some things could change. So you don't want a situation, oh, I thought this is the amount I budgeted for this, but at the end you have a higher price. So we assume 20,000 naira for brooding, for the production of heat for brooding. Now, the next question to also ask is, how much are we spending on water? The water is not free. Even if it's free, you still need some electricity to pump it out. So how much are you spending on that electricity? So you need to account for that. In my case, I assume I'm using a generator to pump them for those 5 weeks. I assume 2,000 naira. Now the next question is, how much do you spend in making phone calls? Because at times you may need to call the feed seller. Do you have fees? Because you don't want a situation where you drive to the feed seller, at the end they don't have, then you move to other locations. So there will definitely be need to make some calls during this whole course of your broiler production. Now at times you also need to call the transporter of your day-old chicks. Where are you? When can I come? So those are not free. So you need to account for all those costs. Now, in our case, for those 5 weeks, which is 35 days, we assume 1,000 naira for those 5 days. Again, this could be more. Again, this could be lesser. The next question you need to ask yourself also is, how much are you spending on bedding materials? That is the litter materials. Are you going to be making use of sawdust or wood shave or rice hull, as the case may be? In our case, we are making use of sawdust. In most cases, sawdust is free, but transporting it to your farm is not free. And if you are making use of your vehicle, as the case may be, like I always say, you need to pay yourself. Now, if you are paying someone to bring it to your farm, you need to pay him. So you need to account for this. In our case, we assume 3,000 naira. This also depends on proximity to your farm. Now, the next question to ask, so that you have a proper cost of production, is how much do you spend on brooding paper? Because you are going to cover the bedding materials with newspaper or some brooding paper, so that the chicks do not have access to that sawdust for the first 3-4 days. This is very important. So how much are you spending on it? Are you going to be getting it free, or is somebody going to be selling it to you at a low cost? So you need to account for this. In our case, what we assume is 3,000 naira for those newspaper or brooding material, carton, as the case may be. There are times you may not remember some things to account for. So that's where miscellaneous come in. So we take our miscellaneous to be 5,000 in case we forgot some things that we needed to do, and now there is no money for that. So we base that at 5,000 for this 100 beds that we are raising. Now this brings us to about 565,000 naira to raise this 100 bears to 5 weeks. This means we spend about 5,600 naira to raise one chick to the 35, which is 5 weeks. I don't know if you understand how we got this 565,000 naira. Now we add up all those expenses by answering those questions I've been asking. We add them up. It gave us a total of 565,000 to raise 102 bed. Now, assuming we did not have mortality, which is somehow impossible. At times you may have few, maybe 3 bears and all of that, but our assumption is that 0 mortality, which is impossible in most cases. But we divide that by the number of bears we are raising, we arrive at 5,600 naira as our production cost to raise our bears till 5 weeks. Assuming you do your job well and have a very good uniformity, say maybe 70% of them hitting 2.7 to 3 kg by the 35, my dear, you are already smiling to the bank. This is very, very important. You are already smiling to the bank. This is very good. So this is how to calculate your cost of production. In our case now, we'll be needing 5,600 naira to raise one bed till the 35. Now, this is the secret most farmer, many of them will never tell you. I don't think you've ever seen a video like this on YouTube telling you this is how much I spend per bed, but that's not like me. I'll give it out. If it's useful for you, go ahead and make use of it. As a way to say thank you, kindly do well to hit the subscribe button. Turn on the notification icon. In this case, you will be the first to see any new video we upload and help us to reach a larger audience. As always, thanks.